Hello everyone in YouTube land. A very warm welcome to Dad's Club Podcast Scotland episode 3, and we're joined by a good friend of ours, Kevin Noon. Hello Kevin.
Hi there, how you doing?
How are you? Not bad at all. Thank you so much for coming on. If we have any avid followers of the show, you'll know that we started out in Avondale Radio, so the purpose of having Kevin on today is to talk about his musical background and all things Hangarfest related. But first of all, Kevin, we'll give you a laugh with our introduction song.
Dad's Club, you're listening to Dad's Club, you're listening to Dad's Club on
YouTube.
Dad's Club, welcome to Dad's Club, you're listening to Dad's Club on
YouTube.
I think he's blown away by the production values of our.
No, he won't be blown away by his production values because Kevin's a real musician. Kevin makes actual records. So how are you? How are you keeping?
Yeah, good, thanks, good.
And what's in the pipeline then? Is it a Clover Hill first before Hangarfest? Basically, if you could give us a wee bit of background about how Hangarfest started and what way you became involved with it, when it is this year, just chat as much as you want. I mean, we can have as little or as long a time as you like for our 50 listeners. But hopefully, see, the intention is with this, if you've got any interest in Strathaven Hangarfest, pop it into Google, pop it into YouTube, and hopefully this will come up. So how did it come about, Strathaven's Music Festival?
Well, it actually started off firstly, myself, another chap called Keith Mercer, and another chap called Kevin as well. We got together and played a charity gig upstairs at the Buckshead Hotel, and so we done that thing for cystic fibrosis, and then we decided that we would look for a venue to kind of do something a bit bigger, and we approached Colin at the Strathaven Airfield and asked if we could use his hangar. So we started off there. I mean, it could be 15 years ago or something.
Is it as long as that? I didn't realise it'd been on the go for so long.
Yeah, so it started off around about then, and so the way we kind of worked it was, I think it might have been just a band that we got together that first kind of kicked it off, and we'd maybe had like 150 people come up. We'd put out tables, and
this is in the hangar. This wasn't in the box, right? In the hangar.
So this is in the hangar now. So we're in the hangar, and then so reasonably good kind of first year. We had the community bus involved, busing people up and down from the town. And it just kind of went from strength to strength, really. So we looked to have original artists playing. We thought, look, if you're in a covers band, you can get a gig any day of the week. It's much harder to get a gig if you're playing your own music and stuff. So we got we're kind of usually had maybe 3 bands, 4 bands, 5 bands, then moved up to maybe 6 bands playing over 5 or 6 hours, and we were getting around about 400 people up there, and we had we involved charities to run the bar, and which kind of meant that folk were making a reasonable amount of money just by doing the bar for us, and what we did was we tied in with the Adam Law Community Trust, which had started up in Strathaven, with Roger Lee, Gail Mercer, and various other people, Simon Tilston as well. So we tied in with them and became essentially the fundraising arm of the Adam Law Community Trust. And if you look around Strathaven just now, the Adam Law Community Trust have done things like the new play park, the bridge across.
My kids have been avid users of the wee play park. It's a lovely bit.
So we kind of tied in with them. So I suppose the kind of charitable aspect was there from the start, right from the start when we done that. And so we played a number of years up at the hangar, perhaps 4 or 5, around about that. And then we were, I think we at one time we maybe get as many as 500 up there, and we're thinking that's taken a lot of custom away from the pubs during the day.
Right, the town centre.
Town centre. And so we thought, why don't we do like a Hangarfest in the town and also a night event as well? Because we thought, yeah, that might work.
And so has it always just been you? Because to make it bigger, you and I had a conversation recently, and it's everyone out in YouTube land will understand this. It's the difference between something being manageable. Do you know what I mean? Because if it grows arm and legs, which it now see, I mean, the last Hangarfest, if you've been in Strathaven, it's for me, it's the best day out in the town.
It's great.
At every single one of the licensed premises and non-licensed premises, there's performers on, bands on, singers on. But at that point in time, the amount of phone calls, so from 500 people up at the hangar to then take it any further, that must take up an awful lot of your time.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think as kind of times went on, I've got some host bands who have been absolutely brilliant over the years. So when we moved it, so we essentially moved it into the town in the afternoon. That went really, really well. And then what happened was a couple of years after doing that, the hangar actually changed the nature of ownership, and the people that had planes up there didn't want their planes moved to the old hangar, and all that. So we lost the use of the hangar. Okay. We still retained the name Hangarfest, but we'd already used Hangarfest in the town as well. So we actually thought, right, let's just do Hangarfest in the town, and we'll just concentrate on that. And so we maybe started off with, I think, maybe 5 venues. All the pubs. I mean, you've got to say, the reason why Hangarfest works is because of the support of all the venues. I mean, they have been absolutely brilliant right from the start. And every year we get more venues want to be part of Hangarfest, which is great. As you know, the bowling club this year.
This is a year. ADF. The bowling, first time in years. And it's funny. I think from a kind of outsider's point of view, I've been in the town for 10 years, and for some reason I was always working. I made Hangarfest twice up at the hangar, and I get the community bus there, but I had to walk back in the dark. And then away home. That was an interesting walk. But it was a great atmosphere. And I think one thing you must find, Strathaven seems to be, it's such a musical town. There's where we're filming today, I could take you down 5 different streets and there's a guitar player living on every street. I don't know what the relationship is with Strathaven and guitars.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, just even last night, Douglas McIntyre at the Frets had Butler and James Grant. And
that's right. I forgot that was last night.
Playing there as well. So.
Music town.
So I mean, there's now, there was the Mill recording studio, which was had been used for years. There's a recording studio, of course, where the Tal restaurant was.
Right. So is that the one where famously was it Scott Bass or Scott something? They released Sydney Divine LPs. Do you remember that?
No, I think you're not thinking of Scott Disc.
Scott Disc, sorry, Scott Disc.
I think they're based in Kilsyth, but
because there was a show about Sydney Divine, one of the biggest selling line dancing records ever. It was recorded by a Scotsman, Old State and Kidney, Sydney Divine. And there was a connection with Strathaven. If anyone who's listening or tunes in, if you know the connection with Scott Disc and Strathaven, please let us know.
But I think, again, that was used. I mean, I think Orange Juice recorded their first song there. So there's loads of history in Strathaven of music, and lots of guitarists and musicians.
And sometimes I think you're such a humble guy, but I don't know if EDF knows this. One of the times I attended Hangarfest in town, Jerry Cinnamon was performing to Jerry Cinnamon, who's now went on to worldwide fame. How do you book these acts? Do you just keep your ear to the ground, and before they have a recording contract, is someone always in your ear saying, you should listen to this guy, you should listen to this guy? How do you become aware of such, people who become kind of prolific recording artists?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things is that, again, coming from the original Hangarfest, is that we do still try to book original artists, and the original artists tend to play at the waterside. kind of mostly, but not exclusively, because we've had some great. We've got the Songwriters Circle, obviously, and the Drawing Room, which is original artists doing original songs. We've had, with the same when up at the Buck's Head, where we've had original artists, and actually right through the town. We do try to still keep that promotion of people who play original material.
Yeah.
But the cover bands go down great as well, and that's all part of it. That's all part of the whole kind of I suppose overall enjoyment for everyone.
Yeah, but you're right. It's the bizarre thing is the reason one of the reasons I got most excited about performing at Hangarfest is that people are going to be aware that they'll need to. That's the wrong turn of phrase, but they're going to be hearing your own material. Because it's not. I don't think it's not heavily. It's never, for my money, it's never been advertised as a covers gig. So people know that they're attending a proper music festival. Where you've got everything. You've got jazz singers, you've got blues singers. And one year I remember there was a blues venue. It was up in the Crib, and albeit though I think they were playing some cover versions, but there's some fantastic performers. So if you are listening, and if you're sussing out Strathaven Hangarfest on YouTube, please pop into the town. Is it always the first Saturday in June?
Always the first Saturday in June. We decided to do that, and again, like thinking about the also kind of different genres. Obviously, the Weavers was very much a kind of folk,
acoustic acts
predominantly and stuff. And we had kind of indie kind of in the Buck's Head. We had kind of more kind of jazzy, soul-y kind of stuff in the Waterside, or kind of again, and a bit more indie stuff in there as well, just a bit more unusual. And kind of more rock and the Strathaven and the Tau. But and that kind of songwriters thing in the Drawing Room, but we've expanded again into 13 Barn Street, and also we had Fowler's Coffee shop and involved as well. So there's been various venues.
By the end of the day, you must be exhausted. I see you must cover about 20,000 steps.
Well, I know.
In and out of the venues, checking sound systems, checking levels. Fair play. Okay, it's brilliant. And so what about yourself? Any time I listen to your music, it makes me think of Van Morrison.
All right.
That seems to be, is that your kind of vibe, what you would call Celtic rock?
Yeah. Absolutely. I was probably in a much more kind of Celtic band in my youth, and signed to a Lost Shore Records, very much a kind of very kind of Scottish kind of, I suppose, kind of Van Morrison-esque, the Waterboys. I suppose these would be the kind of touchstones of the kind of music.
It's funny that one of my recollections is a local jam night in the Weavers. Any of the boys who watch this will know the Weavers. But you had been busy having an in-depth conversation with a friend. But as soon as one of the boys started singing a Waterboy song, you picked up the mandolin and joined in.
Yeah,
for the first time that night, and your friends are winding you up saying, I didn't think you'd be able to resist that. Because if you do, I'd imagine if you're watching this, if you're connected with myself at ADF, you will know Kevin's background, but I thought, what a lovely opportunity to get a chat about Hangarfest. I know you've tied in with Avondale Radio, but if anyone does tune into the podcast or they have any questions, is it just Facebook? Is there a website for Hangarfest, or is it?
Yeah,
what's the best way of getting in touch?
So we've got thousands and thousands of followers on the Hangarfest Facebook page, and we've been using that primarily as a place to put the posters up for who's playing where, sort of thing. I mean, we now have 10 venues with 5 acts in each of the venues. So you're talking about 50s, sometimes 60 acts.
It's incredible, and even that, I don't know if anyone's looked at, and I'll look into it for you on your behalf. In terms of a town where music takes over the whole town, the only one that might draw comparisons would be, what's the one, is it Bonfest in Kirriemuir?
Yep.
Right.
Where the town becomes a tribute to Bon Scott, but there can't be very many other places in Scotland that have a music day where everywhere you go, what I love about it, especially if the weather's good, you just hear the constant sounds of rock and roll just through the air. It's fantastic.
We've been lucky over the last few years with the weather and stuff, which is incredible. But one town that I would give a shout out to is Pressfest. which I've played many times myself, so they have they've something kind of similar sort of thing. So I'm not sure who started first and stuff, but it's very, the model. I mean, the model is perhaps there's not the same charitable kind of model that we have, sort of thing, because again we raised a ton of money through the wristbands that there's a donation really through the wristbands, and that goes to because the venues can actually pay for all the acts, sort of thing. We do have to pay professional musicians. You got to kind of pay people and stuff. So we keep trying to move to a model where everyone gets paid. But the only way to do that is through the wristbands. But we also there's money that's donated through the wristbands goes to ACT, and of course again ACT will
And are you from a musical background? Because you're like myself. I mean, ADF's the same. For me, music rules all. It's always ruled all. I like football and I like sport, but for me, it's one. Sounds very cheesy, but I mean it. It's life's genuine magic to get a series of chords obviously your guitar's got to be in tune, but there's just something. Keith Richards described it best. You get this blank canvas. And that's what Hangarfest exemplifies that and illustrates that perfectly. All of a sudden, the place just bursts into life, especially, and there's something about singing outdoors. Do you find that? I mean, you lived performing outside the Tal when the sun is shining and you've got the sunglasses on. It's probably because it's such a unique thing in Scotland. But all of a sudden, you get kids dancing outside the co-op. Just joining it. It's a wonderful wee day.
I mean, I think again, you can check out the video by Deep Storm Productions about Hangarfest as well.
That was very good.
Which I think probably captures exactly that. As actually, there's just a kind of fun atmosphere where people are just kind of enjoying themselves and kind of so I mean, I think as a positive. Positive festival for the town, and I think the reason why musicians come back is because they enjoy playing it.
It's got a lovely vibe. It's really positive. So, are you predominantly, was it piano or guitar? What was your first instrument? What made you first want to create songs and make music?
Yeah, well, I think probably my motivation was that I'd saved up about 130 quid to buy a motorbike, and my dad wouldn't allow me to buy a motorbike. And so
Hangarfest is only here because you couldn't buy a motorbike.
So I thought, what could be really annoying for him? So I bought an electric guitar and amp, and really within I'm quite dyslexic, and so I'm really
Right, I didn't realise that.
So words are really when I was younger, they didn't get a lot of support and stuff like that. But so I found myself really attracted to kind of reading poetry and all this kind of stuff, and start to read more books, because I've always found reading quite difficult, especially at that age. I got a guitar when I was 16. Instead of a 50cc motorbike.
Did you ever get a motorbike late in life? You have a biker?
I did, yeah. So I started within 3 months. I was writing songs.
Fantastic.
And I got the Beatles Complete book, and really, I suppose probably a lot of guitarists. I mean, there's so many beautiful chords that are there.
It still bewilders me. You think, and then it's when you look at tablature, you look at the chord charts. My thing is always, what made them think about doing that? Did you know the progressions and everything? Obviously, there'll be hundreds of Beatles fans online, and if you do watch this, please leave in the comment section your favourite Beatles song, because the songs that featured. And the old lady plays the piano in a wedding singer, and that's the thing with Beatles songs. People know songs, and I know that sounds daft. They didn't realise it was a Beatles song.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I've heard it in some other avenue, way, shape, or form. Yeah. Incredible songwriters. Yeah. But okay, so it's lovely to get a chat with you, and hopefully, if this does anything, the sole purpose of Dad's Club Scotland is to get fantastic guests on like Kevin, have a chat, and obviously you are a parent. It doesn't need to be a prerequisite of being a parent coming on to Dad's Club, but it does help because you realise why we look exhausted all the time. And no matter
I'm wearing a mask.
no matter what we do after
Trying to
Hangarfest,
conceal my
we
identity.
need to try and get the babysitters for Hangarfest so you can have the hangman
no.
next door.
I know.
But right, would you like to lower the tone considerably? Would you like to take part in what is one of the usual Dad's Club segments? Will we try? What do you think, ADF? Will we do word of the
Sure.
week, or do you fancy some terrible dad jokes?
Let's go for the dad jokes first.
Dad jokes.
That's what everyone's waiting for.
Right, I have got some up my sleeve. I thought of some really good ones, so we'll play it. Wait till I get my introduction music up. I'll try and add this because Kevin will be aware he's on with a couple of amateurs with sound mixing and everything here. The first organised segment today is going to be.
Brace yourself, folks, it's time for the dad jokes.
I won't play that
We all
higher
know
first.
that they're gonna be bad jokes. Brace yourself, folks, it's time for the dad jokes. Dad jokes.
Dad jokes. This worked well on the radio because we would ask people to send in. First of all, we'll start. Surely in your years of show business, you must have a favourite. Have you got a favourite cheesy joke, terrible joke, or just it could be anything at all? Do any spring to mind? Because the range, do you want to hear how bad they get? Some of ours are very good. We used this in the first episode. How can you tell if a set of bagpipes is out of tune? Someone's playing them.
Boom.
That's usually true.
That's very derogatory to bagpipe players. But I thought of 2 or 3 the other day. And the thing is, though, it's taking a mental note and trying to remember it, and also because we've been filmed on YouTube, it's making sure that it's appropriate enough, right? But I'll share the story with about dry toast.
Right.
Have you heard of that? I used this one on the radio once. You're familiar with wee Sammy from Glasgow and the issue with dry toast? No?
Yeah,
Basically, Sammy, whenever he plays football games, he takes wee hissy fits, and his mum says, "My wee Sammy's the most crabbit boy in the world. There's definitely something wrong with that Wayne." So she's demented. She goes to child psychologists. Back in the days, they didn't pay any attention to just nowadays they call it a personality disorder. But the mother for wee Sammy goes to the doctor and says, "See this Wayne, every time I'm demented with him. He falls out of me in the co-op, he falls out of me in the shop. What am I going to do?" And the doctor said, "You need to give me some examples. I mean, he refuses to go to his bed. He's always falling out of me. He's the most crabbit individual you've ever met in your life. I need something to help me for a crabbit individual. I can't be bothered with this Wayne." So the doctor says, "Right, have you tried exercise?" "Aye." "Have you tried just soothing, relaxing music on in the background?" "Aye." So the doctor says, "I tell you what, it's an old wives' tale, but try dry toast. Nothing but dry toast. Just feed wee Sammy as much dry toast, and for some reason with metabolism, it improves his mood. Are you sure this is going to make a crabbit person better?" So the doctor says, "Aye, of course." The next day in the breakfast table, wee Sammy comes up and there's a pile of 22 pieces of dry toast. And he says, "Ma, how come I've got on but dry toast? I hate you." And the mother stops him right away. "Don't you touch that. That's for your dad."
This is about the point where they turn off.
Tumbleweed. But see, there's a far more adult version of that joke, but I liked that disguising. She was afraid to say that her husband was crabbit. You get anything up your sleeve, ADF? Any dad jokes?
I went and saw an Elvis impersonator last night, Johnny Lee Memphis, at the Armadillo, and there was the MC came on to sort of introduce him, and he tells this joke, and he goes, a woman approaches a man on the street and says, "Do you want super sex?" And he goes, "I hope it's lentil." No.
This one's good. This is a perfect example of a dad joke, right? What was it in it? We like a play on words. What was the last thing Grandpa said before he kicked the bucket?
Don't know.
"How far Jan can kick that?"
Kapow.
No.
I think that's good. Right, what'd you get if you cross a parrot with a centipede?
Oh, don't know.
A walkie-talkie. Wah, wah, wah. That started in the radio. The jokes do get better, but we were aiming for a Hangarfest chat today. Before we move on to our final segment, Dad Dilemma, anything else, Kevin, that you'd like to fire in about Hangarfest, that people you think they should know about, they'd like to know about, or anything, any news you'd like to spread about the festival? Obviously, it's got a brilliant reputation already. So in terms of followers, I think the word is definitely out. But is there something else in the pipeline or anything else that may change this year? Or is the model going to be the same, just maybe expanding some of the venues?
Model's the same. Why change something that's successful? Obviously we make adjustments here and there. We try other venues. We successfully moved into the drum, and actually that's been really successful.
Certainly at the end of the organised sessions, that was what they seem to do, is have a jam session for the musicians who have been scattered across the town.
Yeah.
And that's where, huge thanks to Kevin, because I've been lucky enough to perform at the Hangarfest, and I love the fact you arranged the hospitality for free pakora and food and everything for the performers on the drum.
That's right. Well, absolutely. So again, the guys at the drum have been really good. And Suki at the towel, he's the guy that delivers that and does it for a brilliant price for us.
Superb.
So again, without the support of these guys, we wouldn't have that. So we actually have some. Actually, it was free drink. You got token,
right.
token for a drink, and
right.
you got your
my memory was maybe
well.
a bit hazy by
well, maybe you had a lot of drink that day.
Basically, to sum it up, I said to Kevin before we started filming and before we were rolling today, I said the best way the Hangarfest was described as it's Gala Day for grown-ups. Gala Day, well, the Balloon Festival, Strathaven, there are incredible numbers able to fit into the town. Thousands. I mean, I think they count it. The Balloon Festival 2020, what would be the first one after COVID? Was it 23? Seemingly we're over the course of 3 days, over 40,000 people in and out of the town. Huge numbers of people. And Hangarfest, I don't think it will be 40,000, but it's well into the thousands. Because you can't go down any one of the streets without seeing this kind of buzz and hive of activity. But thank you, and on behalf of the residents of Strathaven, without you, you do know you're known as Mr. Hangarfest. Do you know that people call you that?
Yeah, no, I wasn't aware of that.
The guitar guys, actually the musicians and shop owners, I talked to Kevin, he's Mr. Hangarfest. The president of the bowling club actually said, Stuart, do you know that boy Mr. Hangarfest? Do you mean Kevin Noon? So it's very much appreciated. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. If you want to leave comments in the comments section, or if you're a friend of Kevin Noon, please join in the chat. And as usual, anything you'd like to add about the chat about Avondale or the wider community, ADF, anything we should add before we sign off for the day?
I suppose I'd probably just want to ask if you were a musician wanting to, get into Hangarfest, what would they need to do in order to perform? What would be the criteria, and how do you, as the organiser, make those decisions? And are they difficult or are they relatively easy? Do you have a lot of people coming in wanting to play, or how's that go?
I think over the years it's got easier. I mean, we get a lot of requests to play, and that generally would come through the Hangarfest page via a message where someone will put on and say, "Look, I'd love to play Hangarfest. Here's a link to my music." And then I'd go and listen to it, and and again, if I can find a spot. The trouble is that it's actually difficult to find spots because
there's a limitation on the time, obviously, isn't there? Because it's a 1 day. This is a good question, actually. Out of all the requests, what's been the most obscure type of instrumentation or style of music? Have you ever had like Mongolian throat singing? No, that's really, really out there. Have you ever heard that, boys? Actually, that Mongolian throat singing. It's a proper style.
Have you heard that there's a band called The Who? Actually, I think they played Glastonbury or something last year.
And that's what they do?
Yeah, it's like a Mongolian metal band that does the throat singing as well. Yeah. It's incredible.
I don't think there's I can't think there have been anything super unusual and stuff like that. I mean, this year we've got the absolute legend that is Hugh Reid in the Velvet Underpants, and if you've ever heard he'll be playing.
What a brilliant band name, the Velvet Underpants.
And other bands we've got playing Metopia, which are just a fantastic singer-songwriter and her band. So we've got, there's, so you asked a wee bit earlier, so how do you go out and you kind of find acts and stuff like that? Well, I saw you, in fact, I was up at Belladrum and stuff, so when you go to like things like Belladrum, you would hear a kind of like a lot of younger acts coming through and stuff like that. And I think one of the things, like even we'd say Jerry Cinnamon and stuff, was actually to, I'd heard of Jerry, we got him involved. In fact, he played the which was, I think it was called the Star at the time, before the Strathaven. I can't remember.
But that's right, before it changed names.
So he played the Strathaven, the Strathaven, and then he went up and played at the Hangar at night as well.
Right.
So, but again, you're kind of like you're looking to see, who are the young artists that are really that you could get along to give them some exposure and stuff. And again, the people will now say, like, Kevin, I've got this act, and they think they're really good. Can you David Blair from Room 2, for example, he came with Utopia. So these kind of connections that I suppose just that I've kind of cultivated through the years are really helpful, and because one of the problems is when you get older, you don't have your ears knocked to the ground as much as when you're younger.
It's difficult though. It's a timing thing, that, isn't it? Because even getting out to attend a gig, when you're, especially when you've got kids and you've got a young family. I used to be out all the time, hearing bands, or someone would say, by the way, they're doing this kind of. For example, Jerry Cinnamon, I think he started in the Brunswick Cellars. He was hosting an open mic night every week, and there'll be a whole. That's a venue. Do you remember that venue? Only there must have a capacity of about 100 folk, but somewhere before they hit the big time, with the people saying this guy's songs are really good, but it's just knowing where to see them and. How to, as you say, keeping your ear to the ground. I think that a lot of people are huge advocates. Is it Radio 6, the BBC Radio 6? That's the place to be if you want. And BBC Scotland introducing one of the Cut Kelvins does a special show about it. But thank you so much for your time. I loved that.
Cheers,
thanks for inviting me along. That was
you're very welcome. And any time you want to come on, obviously the dad jokes are murder. Hopefully that hasn't put you off. But it was always a traditional segment. See, that we're also keen. I know that Strathaven has the comedy festival, but what I'd like to do is actually you could have brought the guitar along today. It'd be good to do some wee live sessions. So anyone, if you're listening to this and you are a Strathaven performer, we're going to looking to maybe get wee Hendrik Kaiser on. That's me. Did you hear his singles doing really well on the Spotify?
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Yeah. And that's played terrific. Clover Hill Festival last year.
Oh, that's right. Want to watch Hendrik Kaiser, maybe our next guest. But thank you so much for your time, Kevin, and anyone out there, thank you. That has been Dad's Club Podcast Scotland. Thank you for tuning in.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.